Hey, if you're creative with so many ideas, you don't quite know what to do with them, and they might be even competing with each other in your head, there's a way out. It's a good, well balanced, and realistic plan. That's right. And today I'll share, I spoke about this before, but today I'll share just a few elements of this plan that can help you create yours. So let's go. First is well balanced. And what that means is to really make sure that you include all of your priorities in your plan. And that doesn't mean everything you want to do. Priorities are really those things that are most important. So ask yourself, what is essential? If I have this much time, whatever the time is in the week, and maybe that's a starting point. What is the time that you have in the week? Well, we all have the same amount of time, but then we might need different time depending on our commitments. Do you have children? Do you have family? Do you run a business? Do you have a full-time job? Right? All of that will determine the time you have for your priorities. So, given the time that you want to commit to, whatever you're planning, what are those priorities that you want to fit in? So rather than just reacting to life and kind of there's a saying, schedule your priorities, don't prioritize your schedule. I think that's a very good advice, because prioritizing a schedule is like it's imposed on you and you just need to kind of, oh, you have this to do and you need to prioritize. Actually think through first, what do you want to give your time and attention to in the week, and then scheduling that in. So that means scheduling your priorities. And so this will ensure that it's well balanced, that all the parts of you feel honored, your body. So you make sure you have time for self-care, for rest, for food, all of those essential things, and also for, relaxation, mindfulness, whatever it is that you do to keep yourself well, besides the work tasks and any projects that you are pursuing. So that's well balanced. Then another thing that is really good, so another element of this plan is, I call it batching, and you probably or maybe heard this before. How I understand it is to batch a certain type of tasks together in whichever logical sense that is for you. So, for example, I do a whole day of client work or specific client work, and then in another time block of several hours, I do different kind of client work, and it just really helps conserve mental resources, because as you might heard, the task switching between different tasks, trying to do different types of work in a day, or even multitasking, is really taxing for our brain and doesn't use our mental resources well. We're actually wasting them. So batching in some way, either having theme days, like different types of work on one day, let's say client work, or I don't know, creative work, or um, planning and organizing things, or admin work if you run a business and you have admin. So batching, right? The next one is, I think is really important, is well, that almost goes into the execution of the plan, but still, it's one thing at a time. And it kind of piggybacks on the batching one. It's making sure that you give yourself time for a specific task and not try to go between tasks. And that also includes no distractions. When you say one thing at a time, that includes not scrolling the internet, not unless it's part of the task you're doing, not scrolling social media or doing other things, checking your phone, etc. So one thing at a time. I mean, there's so many books that have been written about it so far, so much research done, that multitasking is really not benefiting us. So I wanted to include that, if you hadn't been convinced yet. Um, so, yeah, the next one is realistic in terms of making sure that you include enough breaks. And what you do in those breaks is up to you and depends on you individually. But I know from personal experience, in the past, I made a plan, like a schedule for myself with back to back work blocks, just overachiever in me was planning clearly, or my inner pusher, as it's also called. And that's the part of us that just kind of drives us and pushes us for more, more, more. And but it's a very limited perspective. It doesn't know that that's unrealistic. Unrealistic probably isn't in its vocabulary. So we need to be aware when we are planning that we bring different, like that we are in kind of our central awareness, and we honor different parts of us, different needs that we have, right? Really look at ourselves and our lives holistically. So realistic means to honor different parts of our lives and different needs and bring them all in, and that includes breaks. So the next one, when I say realistic, the next element is it's kind of a part of realistic as well, and it means to, when you give yourself time to do something, we tend to underestimate how long it will take, or any snags that we'll run into and things like that. So it's good to give yourself some buffer time. So maybe overestimate. So if you say you can, I don't know, write a blog post in half an hour or in an hour, give yourself 50% more, or double the time if you can. And the thing is, if you're done sooner, you can always move on to the next thing or write another, or however you want to use that time. But then that's a bonus and an extra. If you plan for less and actually do those things, really well, then you'll be better off than most people, because most of us often aim for too much and then don't really get far with any of the things, or with a lot fewer. So pat yourself on the back if you aim for less and actually get to do it. And then I think that the final element is to make it visual. Make your plan visual. It's so clarifying, so clarity promoting, when, at least for me, and I think quite a big percentage of people have this visual preference, if you will, that just helps us understand things better when we see them. So yeah, make it visual, however works for you, either in your online schedule, calendar. I use my Google Calendar, but I also use a bullet journal to jot things down with pen and paper. You might just want to use a regular paper diary, if those are still in circulation. I think they are, or a notebook, or however you do it. You can have a wall calendar so you see it at all times. Actually, that would be one thing that maybe an extra bonus element is to create reminders for it. Either have it up somewhere visually, or remind yourself to keep checking in, to really refer to your plan regularly. And by regularly, I would say daily, at least to begin with, until it maybe becomes a bit more of an established routine. Or if you have a plan that has this repeated tasks, maybe on a weekly basis, then you'll get to know it. But still, I would encourage you to connect with your plan regularly. And also, one is to be sure that you follow it, and secondly, that you can reflect on it, that you can see, okay, is this working? Can I change something? How does this feel? How have I been going with accomplishing what I set myself? Is it realistic? Is it well balanced? Right? And then if not, did I miss some things? Was I trying to do too many things at once? Where did things perhaps go wrong? What can I adjust? So that's why it's so good to keep connecting back in. And just one final thing that I will share. Why do we even want to consider having a plan is because it's so calming, it's so centering, it's grounding for all the ideas that you have, and that are, and the ambitions and goals and visions. They're wonderful, and they need a grounded support. They need some sort of structure, which a plan provides, so that you can bring those ideas and visions into reality. And there's no room for perfectionism here as well. I would say the plan, it's a living thing, it's a living document, and you will keep adjusting it as life changes. So will your plan. As your goals change, so will your plan. But by having a plan and sticking with it, you'll see how much more calming and reassuring and productive that is. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know how you feel about plans. Do you live off a plan, or do you follow a plan when you want to get something accomplished or achieved? And how is that working for you? I would love to hear, and I'll see you in the next video.